jesteś mężczyzna.
Banana jednak coś chyba zaczynamy.
We're back. We're back with round 7, the final round of Swiss. And this time we made sure not to bring you Esper Control.
Instead of that, we have two other Teferi decks. Band Nexus facing Jeskai Control, if I am not mistaken.
You are not mistaken, so this has been an interesting ride. Okay, let's get right to it. Why don't you tell us about the decks while I search up the deck lists in the pile that we have right here?
Well, so on the left side we have Anton Stabel piloting Jeskai Control, which was the preferred way to build your control Teferi decks before Ravnica Allegiance and Godless Shrine came out. Godless Shrine and Azure and Hallowed Fountain came out, basically. Probably using Deafening Clarion as the sweeper of choice and some other control tools, probably picking up Absorb too. And on the other side of the table, Alan Andrzejewski is piloting the Band Nexus, the Boogeyman deck that wins by taking all the turns available. By looping Nexus of Fate with either Teferi, Search for Ascanta, Wilderness Reclamation, some combination of those. So early in the game we are going to see Alan cantrip a bunch with his cantripping spells. You see him casting a Revitalize end of turn, drawing a card, getting 3 lives, all that fun and jazz. Making land drops, trying to resolve a Wilderness Reclamation. Notably, Wilderness Reclamation is pretty hugely vulnerable against Esper because of Mortify, but Jeskai does not have that tool. It puts Alan in a much more comfortable position to begin with, unless
Oh well. I wasn't able to locate all the deck lists that we needed, but we do have at least one, so
yeah,
that will suffice.
we do have the deck list from Anton. This is a kind of a spicy one, honestly. Featuring 4 main deck Recalnic Phoenixes, 3 Nifmezet Sparon, 3 treasure maps and 2 dive downs, and only 2 Teferis. That's a much different take on a control deck that we have seen. It's reminiscent of the deck that Adrian Sullivan used to win Grand Prix, whatever did it take place. I just remember that it was won by Adrian Sullivan in the last standard format, with a Jeskai control that focused on that, focused on deploying Nymphmezet, protecting with dive down, taking over the game easily with that. Running just a smudge of counter spells and no ways to answer weird permanent types, so basically no answer to Search for Ascanta.
So as you said, the first turn's pretty calm, just developing mana, cantripping. Anton is also trying to improve the quality of the cards drawn by scrying intensively with 2 of his treasure maps.
Yeah, Anton is trying to flip those maps, get a burst of mana to be able to probably find and then play Nifmezet Parun. Nifmezet Parun is a way to make life much tougher for Alan.
Yeah, because for every extra turn spell that he would play, he would also take a point of damage.
Yeah, yeah. Then if Anton gets to keep some mana untapped, and if he flips 6 treasures, that's like a very feasible thing to do. You can just keep those treasures up.
Growth Spiral. An interesting card from Ravnica Allegiance. Allows you to draw a card, ramp up at instant speed as well. Revitalize. Another classic cantrip for those decks. And Alan is pretty much at the point of flipping Ascanta, so right now Wilderness Reclamation things are starting to get really potent.
6 cards for Alan, so might want to ditch that card to flip Ascanta. He decides it's worthwhile to keep it.
And I agree, it was a Wilderness Reclamation.
Yeah, so now he has a somewhat of a clear plan, casting a Nexus of Fate, trying to make Anton spend a counterspell and trying to untap and resolve Wilderness Reclamation.
And probably do again the same.
Suppose that would be the plan. Well, then you just going wild with Search for Ascanta and probably just winning the game from there. Possibly.
Once you get the second Wilderness Reclamation, that's where things get out of control.
Oh wow, that's some dedication.
A cleansing
and you can
Nova.
see that Anton was somewhat unhappy after considering all the implications of his decision. He
did not realize that by casting...
He facepalmed himself after realizing that he actually chose the mode that destroys all the enchantments and all the artifacts in addition to that. So
having 4 artifacts on board...
Yeah, that's pretty unfortunate. Pretty unfortunate mistake, because I assumed that was it given his reaction. Alan is going to jam a Reclamation, play a land, casts a bajillion of Chemister's Insight. In addition to that, he also has 2 turns. He has an extra turn stored in the bank effectively, so he also has an extra Nexus just like that. Casting it first, so he has higher odds of drawing it, so now he has 2 turns stored in the bank. The first extra turn, so now 1 extra turn stored in the bank. Chemister Inciting, found Ascanta, that is going to flip next turn.
Another Wilderness Reclamation also. So that's...
You probably go with Ascanta first, because the untap step is not going to matter yet, but the Ascanta will. Although it seems like it's only my opinion. I've been correct after all. So 1 mana floating, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Alan, of course, just tapping the Wilderness Reclamation to represent that its trigger has been resolved.
Yeah, it's actually pretty nice. It's a pretty good way to visually indicate that you want to do this. Draw another Nexus, so now he has 1 extra turn stored in the bank. He's going to cast an extra one, and he's going to have 2 extra turns. And Anton decides that he had enough. That it's no longer going
cleansing
to
Nova might have been a little too devastating for him.
Yeah, I think it was kind of fatal the way he ended up playing that. Keeping up the negate would probably not be enough either way, but still a pretty... Well, some people would call that a bummer.
So now, what do you sideboard in to battle this Nexus deck? So obviously counter spells, right?
Yeah. The way you want to fight it is like you want to gain access to interaction that's not typically available on main decks. So what Anton has access to in his sideboard is actually not really much. From the cards that he has available, the cards that I could see bringing in are Spell Pierces, 2 copies of, to gain some cheap interaction on the stack, 2 Invoke the Divine that destroy the relevant enchantments without hurting your own side of the battlefield, and 3 Legion Warboss, which is somewhat of a quick clock.
It's just pressure, yeah.
Of course, you do need to cut some cards. There's Fiery Cannonade, Mass Manipulation, Revitalize is not great, Deafening Clarion is terrible, Dive Down is not exciting. There are some cards you would like to cut from the Jeskai deck, so it's slightly tough. It does not look to me like it's enough card to present a perfect post-board configuration in this matchup. So he will just try to do with what he has available. And of course, Alan is also not skipping the sideboarding either. He has some tools on his own. Those decks typically board in a bunch of Hydroid Crosses, which is a generally good Rumpy card, and you are growth spiraling anyways in your main deck. You might just want to do it. He can see that he boards a whole entire bunch of cards. It's actually shuffling most of his sideboard into the deck. I think I have seen Frilled Mystic, a bunch of negates, a lot of interaction. He has the luxury of cutting fogs. You don't need root snares against this archetype, so that's actually a big luxury. Not like if you don't have to run fogs in your deck possible, because then even though like your matchup was good game one, because given the amount of counter spells that Anton has, I would assume it's a good matchup. It's a matchup that's favoring Alan overall. He still gets to improve his deck post-board. Like, not only modify it or juke, just gets to improve some cards. Like, take cards that are plainly bad and place them with cards that are good.
Or at least just a bit more useful than what he had.
Yeah.
What is interesting, that game ended with no Teferis ever hitting the battlefield. So that's a nice change of pace.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you could assume that since Anton essentially agreed to the fact that Alan will just take infinite turns, most likely from now on, he just envisioned that Alan will eventually drop a Teferi, plus Teferi enough times, and then ultimate Teferi. So I could say that effectively a Teferi hit the battlefield, but it did not. It didn't get played in literally sense. So it's fine.
The threat of Teferi was looming, and it was big enough to...
Freteni.
Yes.
That was my attempt at making a
A pun.
a pun. I will let everybody else to judge its quality.
It was a C+.
Isn't every pun a C+?
Alright, let's see if the 6 is better. Alan is of course on the draw this game. There are a couple of lands. There's a Nexus. It has potential. Also an opt, I think.
End of turn sneaking that opt for Anton.
Improving draw quality, and of course getting a little bit closer when it comes to flipping Ascanta, if he ever gets one on the battlefield.
You can see a pretty dangerous combination in Alan's hand of Frilled Mystic and Arch for Oraska. That can make it slightly tough to cast your spell sometimes, but there are concessions that you can make to increase the power of your deck over its consistency, and that's certainly how I would call that.
Anton did board in the Legion Warboss, so he is trying to present as much pressure as possible.
Yeah, the Legion Warboss is going to be a tough clock for Alan to deal with. It's already dealing 6 damage. It's not quite Trouble Master speed, but still very close to, so Alan might try to just flash in the
Mystic for value.
Mystic for value, the value being blocking the Warboss and killing it. Still, there will be 5 power on the battlefield, so that's a free turn clock.
Anton has drawn a Niv Mizzet. Seems like he will be able to cast it on curve.
Yeah, it's a good follow-up.
And there we have it. Frilled Mystic.
Frilled Mystic nicely dodges negate and similar
Gets syncopated.
things like that, but the syncopate is probably going to be fatal because Alan just dies next turn to the Warboss, so
Yeah. So that was a very quick set of games. We are going to get to game number 3. So after what's happened, I mean,
it was pretty it was pretty smart how Anton just revealed his absorb after Alan has tapped his mana, but even before Alan has announced the spell that he's going to cast.
yeah, just I have it, dude. Just don't. So Anton was on the play. So after getting beat down so hard by Legion Warboss, do you consider this a signal to board some root snares back in?
I do not think that Root Snare is especially effective at dealing with Legion Warboss. So, the problem is that Anton just still needs to spend effectively one card to clock you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you are buying any value, real value with this Root Snare. You are buying yourself a Joseph if it resolves. I would think that this plan is
too weak.
inherently flawed, trying to answer Legion Warboss with Root Snare. So I would not believe that Alan will go this way. I also believe that Legion Warboss is an inherently tough card for Alan to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So you might just have to hope that Anton cannot resolve an early one, or being on the play that he can just punish it with resolving a Wilderness Reclamation and going totally over the top of that monster. A Hydroid Crisis is another option. You can play a Hydroid Crisis on turn 4 with X2, that's a 2-2 that blocks Legion Warboss. You can see that Alan has a Hydroid Crisis in hand, while Anton has a Legion Warboss. I'm not sure what is the land situation for those players, but it seems like Anton was not happy with his land situation. And decided to mulligan. I assume it had to be the land situation.
Here we have a close-up of Hawaii again. He's shy. He's just shy. But
yeah, the first time he was caught in very deep contemplation, so
it doesn't happen to him very often.
I do think it does add some additional entertainment for the viewers of the stream if we do it every now and so often. So far it has not been getting old for me.
Who, Hawaii? No, he's still
No,
pretty
like
young.
the joke of doing a close-up on him when he least expects that, which is mostly when the players sideboard and, well, there's
When
no
they
game,
shuffle.
no game to watch yet.
So unfortunately for Anton, he has to go to 5.
Have you ever moved to 5?
Yes.
I have also done that. It's not pleasurable.
Have you ever won from a mull to 5?
Yes. Probably numerous times.
Good
but
for you.
it's actually more pleasurable than moving to 5.
What's the biggest non-vintage mulligan that you've taken and won a game?
Well, I have won with 4 cards and
That is impressive.
Once. I have won. I mean, I probably won a few times over 4 cards. I even won off of 3 cards, but it was also kind of cheating. It was Lantern Control in Modern versus Affinity, and I had like land, and Standing Bridge, and
At least you weren't playing Tron.
yeah. And land, and Standing Bridge is a hand that can, beat a creature deck, and that has happened. So Alan made a land drop, performed an Opterino. Notably, Sorcerer's Beat Opterina? I'm not sure. I don't know. Anton has kind of a slow hand,
Wow,
while
Alan.
Alan is ramping up to
Wilderness Reclamation as soon as this turn? No, none in hand.
no reclamation. Just a crisis for X1 if he's willing to do so, but probably not. Just keeping up in the gate. I wonder if he's willing to counter a treasure map. Notably, Anton didn't cast an opt end of turn, saving it up for potentially saving it up for when he actually knows what to do with it. Or maybe it was now. Alan is probably trying to play the Crisis 4 X4 to just draw 2 cards with it. That's extremely reasonable. Or even saving it for even more. I do think it's very nice to play your Crisis right now, but I can also see keeping it up. You can try to do things like end of turn Nexus of Fate and then play your Crisis for X6.
Does he even have a crisis?
Yeah, there is a Hydroid Crisis in his hand, on the back of his hand.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the Jellyfish Hydra.
I see. The Jellyfish Hydra beast.
I wonder why they felt like they needed to add the beast subtype to it.
Because
Because
Jellyfish.
like it's I would kind of say that it's beastly enough to begin with for me, but I'm not no expert on that.
Because if it was just a Jellyfish Hydra, it would have to have been a rare. Now it's a Jellyfish Hydra beast. It's more threatening. Therefore, it is a mythic.
Mhm.
That's my reasoning explanation. R&D hire me. So treasure map again resolves.
Alan chooses not to spend his Frail Mystic on this. I would kind of attracted to.
Mhm.
He negated the first one, but I can also see how he wants to keep it as it is his last counter spell. Frail Mystic notably makes Legion Warboss much less threatening at this stage of the game. Like, even if Frail Mystic would get flashed and then counter something else, the body still trades for the Warboss itself and it blocks the goblins as they come, so it's kind of useful here. It's probably casting Nexus end of turn
Mm-hmm.
to force a
Seems
counter
so.
spell or force action. Syncopate the stuff because it removes a Nexus from the pool of your deck essentially, but it's fine. Draws a land and can play Crosses for 8 mana if he wishes to.
I think he does.
I think that he wishes to indeed, yes. A 6/6. Draw 3 cards, gain 3 life. Go up to 21. Replenish his hand with
The fairy.
the fairy, land, and Nexus.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one. And then Anton spends an absorb on that, so that's kind of huge. So Anton probably looks to drop a Nave Mizzet that will be hard to answer. Little does he know, Alan has a Teferi. That's not going to be a viable route to victory. And also he needs to find a Nave Mizzet to begin with. Seems like he kept a card on top. Is it the Parun himself? Or is it something else?
Will he make an appearance? He does.
Yep, he drew the Parun. Believe he has a negate in his hand, but Alan also... Well, Alan doesn't have a negate, so the Mizzet is kinda... It's actually not tough, because he can keep up the Frilled Mystic. So it's actually very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Anton has 2 cards in his hand, a negate and a...
And the Frilled Mystic will...
negate and a
Mhm.
Ral Izzet Viceroy.
Mhm.
Drew the negate. Now Alan will flash in his Frilled Mystic, counter the negate. Potentially. Resolve the Teferi. I assume the Parun is going to get tagged.
There are no more treasure tokens, so
Yeah,
no easy way to draw into the Parun.
the Parun. And Anton is going to have an opportunity to drop either one of the planeswalkers that he has in hand, but both are kind of weak towards Frilled Mystic's body. Like this 3-2 might not look too threatening, but in situations like this, it's like it's basically Ravenous Chupacabra but for spells, and think how powerful Chupacabra is in creature mirrors. This is kind of insane in the monster mirrors. It even has an extra point of power, which makes it, you know, it basically has 150% of Chupacabra's power. Think about
That's
this
a lot
way.
of power.
Yeah. A lot of power.
Ral is Viceroy resolves.
Is it?
It is.
Haha.
Haha. So that's been Anton's way to get the Niv Mizzet,
The Parun.
the Parun of the Izzet, back into his hand. So now let's see.
Now Alan has a Nexus of Fate and a Teferi untap trigger. So end of turn he will probably float 2 mana, play Nexus, and then protect it with Frilled Mystic if necessary. It is not necessary, but he can do that and then just win, probably.
He plays an untapped land, showing no fear, the absolute madman. Attacks Ral.
Destin lands, floats 2, untaps 2,
Mhm.
taps 5, even taps 1 too many. Just be aware that you need to leave up double blue and double green to cast Frilled Mystic, but it seems like he will be able to cast it indeed. Casting Nexus of Fata, shuffles into his deck.
Is going to be also
Graveyard.
able to cantrip a bunch, given that Nexus resolved. Then flip Scantan the following turn.
I don't think he has many cantrips left in his hand.
He does have like 2 revitalize.
Okay.
Or at least 1. Still, step by step, closer to flipping the Descanta.
Yeah, already has 7 cards in his graveyard, so...
Oh, yeah.
Taperino. Check the top card. Regardless of whether you keep it or not, transform your powerful land, and... Now you kind of have seen that Anton doesn't even have a counter spell, so you don't need to protect it, the card from the eventual Nexus if he draws one. He doesn't need to protect it with Frilled Mystic
Mm-hmm.
in a way. But of course you would
That
like
was
to.
a Crassus, the
Yeah.
card on top.
That's a good fallback plan if all else fails. You can play Crushes for X equals huge. Typically a decent way to win, casting huge X spells. Goes with an Ascanta main phase. Revealing a Growth Spiral, I guess. Or a Search for Ascana number 2. I would prefer a Growth Spiral myself, given the context of my hand. But it looks like it is possible that Alan will need to pass the turn, maybe. He chooses Ascanta, it seems, over Growth Spiral. No, he just cannot
doesn't.
decide. You choose Spiral, you can ramp, then you can activate Ascanta again.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me see, he did not play a land this turn, so he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana available. 10 mana with Ascanta. So not really
He does settle
Okay,
on
excuse
Growth
me.
Spiral.
10 mana with Teferi on top, so that does not really allow you to activate Ascanta into Nexus and play Nexus again, so needs to take a longer term approach. Drawing a second Teferi helps because it's not actually problematic to pass a turn this turn. It's actually perfectly okay to pass a turn. What is not okay about that is the fact that there is Nifmis and Parun that could be problematic. But if you can tack it with Teferi 2 more times, you're not really going to die to that. And Anton has some trouble drawing spells. I mean, instant or sorcery spells to trigger Parun. A limited amount of those in the deck. There's many creatures, a few planeswalkers, so you might easily, the treasure map, so you might end up having a Nifmis Parun that does not immediately fly away with the game, just like it does in the blue-red Drakes deck typically. Once you get on top of it. If Anton plays anything else, Alan is ready with a powerful elf, lizard, wizard creature.
Finally, the long-awaited lizard wizard is with us.
Lizard wizard. Chooses to go with the Parun, being cognizant of that. In response, Alan activates Ascanta, the Sunken Ruin, reveals
Chemister's Insight, I guess.
probably Chemister's Insight, maybe Negate.
Maybe Negate.
Chooses Chemister's Insight, which is reasonable.
Yeah. He will cast it with Nifmis still on the stack, I guess.
Yep, that's the way you typically want to do it. Yeah, that will require a judge call because there was
I forgot.
some confusion, and Anton actually drew his card off Nifmis, but it actually did not resolve yet. We are going to wait for the intervention.
I wanted to destroy that Ascanta so much that I forgot about my treasure.
This only.
Hello, how can I help you? It was in the stack, and he cast it.
I cast this in response to that.
Ascanta.
I flipped Ascanta, I count this from Ascanta.
Okay. Yeah,
Everything was in response. And I said I'm casting this in response.
And I forgot that
And
it
he
was on
forgot
the
it was
stack, and
still on
I
the stack and
told
he
the
drew
trigger,
it.
and I saw the first card.
Yeah.
Okay, just it.
Still resolving.
Okay, so you shouldn't look at this card.
Yes, I know. I forgot that it was
So
in the
it's
stack.
just a warning for looking at extra cards. That's all. Do you have any scry effect or I don't know some Teferi action before?
Yes, this. I guess we have one card from the map on the bottom.
Wasn't there any shuffle effect?
No, there was this. There was no shuffle.
You can see a judge intervention live.
Okay, so we're sure that one card should be on the bottom.
At least one.
At least one. Okay, so if you're sure about one, you have to put that one on the bottom because you are sure about it. So I will just leave the bottom card on the bottom and shuffle the rest of your library to make it random. And that's it.
Can I draw 2 cards?
Yes.
Yeah, so people at home, or I guess not at home because that's not going to happen to you at home, but people at tournaments of Magic the Gathering, keep in mind that if there's anything wrong with the game, just call a judge and the judge will solve it for you, especially if the judge is as friendly as Jerzy is. One of the most friendliest judges that has ever walked on the Polish ground.
One of the most friendly people, not only judges, I guess. Just a great person. And it's his birthday today. It's his birthday every day, actually. That's a lie. His birthday was...
That's a lie.
That's a lie. His birthday was 1 week ago, but...
Yeah, let's see if Alan finds anything. He finds a wilderness
Wilderness.
reclamation. He was so happy to reveal it that he couldn't grab it for
Plays
some
it.
time, but plays a tapped land, untaps his staff. He also has the Teferi untap trigger.
I guess he's too excited about the reclamation.
Oh yeah.
Let's find the Nexus.
Find the Nexus, and that's enough to prompt the concession. The game actually would technically go for a longer time, but it actually...
Any chance of Anton turning the game into his favor was gone at that point. So finally, after 7 grueling rounds of the Ferry decks, we have reached the end of Swiss. I mean, technically we have not, because some players are still playing, but in more or less 15 minutes, we will be able to show you who is in our top 8, and we will also provide coverage for the top 8 matches. So you should definitely stay with us. More to Ferry to come.
You should.